one of our members come up and collect the papers, and Ronnie will be screening them, and I will be reading them off to Marisa and Scott. Questions personally attacking either candidate will not be accepted. You are, however, allowed to question the platform or past decisions made by either candidate. But candidates are asked to remain focused on campaigning themselves and their platforms during all answers. They will be stopped if they confront the other candidate in any way or if you go off topic. Audience members are asked to refrain from any outbursts in any way. Questions will only be accepted in written form. Cheering is allowed, but if you will be asked to leave if you heckle either of the candidates. In closing, let's remember that we are here to find the best candidate for who will be leading the continued success of the Odette School of Business and the Odette Commerce Society. So with that, I welcome Marisa to come up and give her speech.
Hello everyone. The Odette Commerce Society identity is built on the values of integrity, trustworthiness, and fellowship with each other and the students we serve. We stand for candid, compassionate, straightforward communication, and will seek and support events that create congenial situations in which all Odette students can experience the pleasure of change and personal growth. This is the value statement of the Odette Commerce Society and is the platform I've decided to run my candidacy on. The Odette School of Business is an institution full of young, brilliant minds that are going to have a lasting impact on the world of the future and are already impacting the world today. The accomplishments of all of our students deserve to be championed and celebrated. As students, you deserve to have opportunities to leave your mark. My motives for this position are not to do with my political agenda. They are not because I'm looking to fill space in my resume, and I'm not running because I crave power or have an enormous ego. My motives are simple. I want you, the students, to experience maximum benefit from this organization, this student society. I am running for the Odette students. Their awareness of the Commerce Society has been lacking, and that needs to change. In short, I am Marisa Manzocco, and I'm running for change. After declaring my intentions for running for this position, I decided to ask students how they perceived OCS. Words that were often used by students included exclusive, cliquey, and even culty. This is very troubling, but something that is even more troubling is that the most common response I received was, what is OCS? What is the Odette Commerce Society? OCS is an organization that is meant to be for all the students in Odette. Currently, it is a society that is supposed to represent your interest, but just doesn't seem to be interested in you. This is what brought me to the conclusion that we, the students, deserve more. The Odette Commerce Society needs to focus on rebranding itself to become the voice of the student body. There are many things I would like to improve in Odette, and although I am not willing to make any outlandish promises to you, I will do my best to make sure that the students are being properly represented. That being said, here are some of the changes that you can expect to see if I'm elected as the next president of the Odette Commerce Society. Firstly, I would like to encourage open communication between the student body and OCS. A suggestions box being left in the lobby is a simple change, the impact of which could be incredible. Also, it is imperative that the Commerce Society is allocating its funds to benefit the students. Spending money on things like new water fountains and ATM machines are just two of the ideas that I have for the school. If these changes excite you, or at the very least interest you, then it's very important that you vote for me on election day. Student Appreciation Days were a creative initiative brought forward by the current Odette Commerce Society. I would like to continue these in the future, but look for ways to make them more than just free snacks. An example would be open spots for a Detroit Tigers game, or another boat party as the first was so successful. Another initiative I would like to take on is an Odette Commerce Society bursary for students involved in any Odette club. I feel like this is a smart way to reach out to students and another way to get them involved in Odette. Involvement at our school deserves to be rewarded, and even if unable to create such a bursary, there are other ideas that I would like to put forth. One is to open opportunities such as meeting the Prime Minister's wife to more than just a select few students. More students deserve to benefit from these incredible opportunities that our faculty has put together. It is also important that Odette students are benefiting from the innovative leaders in the community of Windsor. if voted for president, I would create a mentorship program for students to have the opportunity to talk with successful graduates as well as local employers. For those of you who are members of the Odette Commerce Society, you have a right to exercise your opinion of OCS in a non-intimidating environment. Speaking with OCS members, I have learned that it is extremely important that your opinion matters. I promise if elected, you will not only be able to share your opinion freely, but I will encourage you to speak your mind and always give constructive feedback. No one deserves to be part of a club where they feel like they are not valued or respected. Moving forward, I would like to tell you about myself, who I am, and what qualifies me to be your president. Since coming to Odette 3 years ago, I have been a member of the debate team, the Odette Athletic Club, Students Orienting Students, the Odette Commerce Society, and I've also volunteered around Odette. I have been a member of the Odette Commerce Society, and I have not been a member of the Odette Commerce Society. I've been on the inside of the club, and I've been on the outside of the club. I know that the students are unhappy, and I know that they want to change. I know that the students of Odette deserve more. If you take anything away from my speech today, I want for it to be this. I believe in fairness and respect. I believe in transparency. I feel that the students should be able to trust their student government and know that it truly has their best interests at heart. Overall, I believe in doing what is undeniably best for the students. When you make your decision on March 16th or 17th, I urge you to remember that a vote for Marisa is a vote for a better Odette. Thank you.
Alright, well, thanks, Marisa. Scott, you can come up and give your final speech. I'll get it for you, but that's okay, I'm sorry.
All right, I'll just start with a question. Be what?
Be calm.
Now I would like to tell you a story. Let's rewind 4 years ago to high school. Grade 12, what up? Most stressful times in your life are you not only are you choosing school, a program, but what do you want to do for the rest of your life? When I was trying to decide, I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. My dad's an eye doctor and always wanted me to take over the family business. I took all the sciences, physics, chemistry to keep my doors open. I applied to so many different schools and business at Windsor. It was always a backup plan, a second option, last resort. My sister had already decided she was not going into optometry and moved away. It was just me. But I decided to stay right where I grew up. I had to tell my dad that I wasn't taking over the family business. And this is one of the toughest decisions I've ever made in my life. But it was the best decision I've ever made. Looking back, I would not change a thing. I immediately applied for the Odette Commerce Society and was hired as graphic designer. I got the position and was recognized as the member of the month for staying up till 4 in the morning to design posters. I was the poster boy who sat behind the computer and nobody knew who I was, but they sure knew who made those posters. I applied for an actress at the same time and was turned down. I used my initial role in commerce to develop my skills to the point where I was able to make the role on an actress. Throughout the rest of my time at Odette, I've gotten the chance to work on the first ever Odette Leadership Symposium. I decided I didn't want to work for my dad anymore, got my own job, and since an even better job. And I developed skills I never saw in myself. I've been involved in numerous organizations in vice presidential and project management roles, including the Athletic Club, Accounting Society, OMA, Commerce, and Enactus. Most recently, my experience as Executive Vice President of Commerce, where I got the opportunity to work directly with Vice Presidents, develop and reach their personal goals, manage a team of 60 plus members while working closely with 2 years ago, Andrew Lukled, and most recently, Peter Soria. Now, the story I share with you today is how Odette has impacted my life, my Odette story. And the first pillar of my platform is the people, you. Everyone comes from different places, and we all want to go somewhere else. But what we have in common is Odette, making the most of our time here and the opportunities along the way. Everyone in this room has their own Odette story. And as Commerce Society, we need to recognize that and invest in your Odette story, add value wherever we can. Grow the people and truly develop 21st century leaders. The second point of my platform is the community. It's the people that make up the community. In university, you become friends with people because you want to, not because you have to. So whether it's connecting with the right people, having clubs run in different ways, student success support, we're all able to do all of this while learning along the way. Experiential learning is something that Dean Conway strongly believes in, and I think it perfectly describes your experience. The crazy thing is, we're able to do all of this under one roof. I never leave this building. We are all working towards the same thing and learning along the way. So just do it. Take action. Wait for nothing. This is the Odette experience, and possibly the future of university education. The third point of my platform is the third place. We are a commuter school. It's time that we recognize that, use it to our advantage. Many of us live at home, go straight to work, and then come to school. But Odette doesn't have that third place feel, where you can relax and step away from the grind, or the creative atmosphere that our generation needs. Now, I'm not up here to sell you an item, because I don't know what I can promise you. I don't know if I can fulfill those promises. But what I do know is I can sell you the idea of how I do things, and how I can make things happen. Because I believe the way you do anything is the way you do everything. Somewhere along the line, someone gave me a shot, they believed in me, and the sole purpose I do what I do is to give someone the same chance. Because I believe in you, the Odette School of Business, and the place it can be. I've been part of a cultural shift in this organization, reshaping the values, implementing a new vision, and direction of the society. Now, this has been a great year. Our philanthropy team raised over $2,200 in funding for numerous organizations. We've brought in different sponsors to support 8 student appreciation days, launched an Odette collection to foster school pride at the lowest possible cost, and had one of the best orientations in years. Being part of the growth, development, and creation of so many different initiatives while learning along the way. This is the Odette experience. Just do it. Take action and love what you do. Steve Jobs once said, the only way you can truly do great work is to love what you do. And I can wholeheartedly tell you that no one loves the Odette School of Business or what we do with the Odette Commerce Society more than me. So why stop? Success builds on success. Thank you.
Okay, so now that you have heard both speeches, you have pieces of papers at your table. Please write any questions you have for either candidate or for both of them. John Carlo will be coming around with a little bottle, and you can put your questions in there.
These are all of ours.
It's a nice box.
I know that's what you want. I know that's what you want. That's a lie. Straight up a lie to my face. Damn, I've never been lied to so hard. Cold hearted. Yeah. Wait, but there's like stuff like it's half and half, no water, both inclusions, a little ice.
See, like, if I was an egg,
Really? Why? That's weird.
they just, I know, but like, it's not have lemonade, like, chill out there.
Spit it out.
If you guys didn't want to see the paper, just let me know.
I don't know. Turn it on, guys.
There's a fireplace right there. You can turn it on.
Where's the picture?
I don't think it does turn on.
It's just a picture. Did you just what?
That's not a picture.
As president, that's going to be your real. I don't think I have that power.
I don't know. That's what like I was talking to Barbara. Like it won't be up your room. It won't be up your room.
No, those look it's like
It looks super
it's like that one little fox. No, we don't. It's like one. It's like curvy. It's like safe. Like those. Like, that's not mad. That's every time I take myself. That's my career off. No. That's just like cute. Like I've never heard that.
Tyler, you need to scooch over. Your arms in your What? Why are you so stressed out?
Can you see stuff?
Like, yeah, but like he's like halfway gone.
Leave your hands up.
Can you move a little bit closer? No?
Leave your hands.
You're good.
I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I have everyone the time, please?
Okay, so while Robbie is screening the other questions, we have had a few questions that people have asked previously. So I guess this is directed to both of you. How will you get more people to look at commerce as more than just a click?
Just take that one first, or do you want me to? All right, I'll take that one first. I feel like, actually I'm going to share a story with you. I don't think Andrew even remembers this, but before I was on Commerce Society, one of the first things or experiences that I had was that I was sitting in dividends by myself studying, and Andrew and Erica came up to the window and knocked on it really obnoxiously and like waved to me. And I was sitting by myself and I was in first year and really awkward and didn't have a lot of friends, and that was my first positive experience with Commerce Society. And so I feel like small things like that have a huge impact on people. And that was the Commerce Society that I fell in love with. Immediately after that happened, I wanted to be part of a club that made people feel like they were valued. It made people feel like even though you weren't friends with people, they would still like you. So that's my answer to that question.
Sure, yeah. I'll talk a little bit about the house program. I think like that's been our biggest success in the past. This year we were able to like increase the rate by over 300%, and we're reaching out to more than half the first year students. And I think that in the past our mindset's been too solely set on just first years throughout the house program, and building that into second, third, and fourth year classrooms, and keeping that connection not only with the society as well as the community feel of the students can really change the image or the outside perception of the society.
Okay. So the second question is for Scott. Name and explain 3 things that you have done for commerce and how this shows that you are qualified to be the OCS president.
Sure. So this past year, one of my biggest goals, or the biggest thing that I worked on, was launching no debt collection. If you go to the university bookstore and try to find anything business, you can maybe get like the business sweater, and that's about it. We wanted to provide something that not only looked good, fit good, but also showcase the pride of our students at the lowest possible cost. And we were able to do that within 2 drops and sold out within the first few days of our first launch. That I'd like to highlight that as my first point, I guess. In my last position as VP Marketing, our team really took on a strategy of branding the organization like visually, as far as like recreating a new logo and different stationery, stuff like that. As I kind of got more experience in the marketing mindset, it really left an impact on the visuals of the society. And this year, I got to work very closely with the VPs on reaching and developing personal goals. So Wes had approached me at the beginning of the year and wanted to increase house response rate to like 30%. We pushed him to 40, 45, and he even surpassed that, along with Brittany, to 54%, where it stands right now. Obviously, I can't take direct credit for any of that, but I've been an integral part in making those things happen.
Okay. The next question is for the both of you. What changes will you make next year compared to this year?
I'll start. I think, given my past experience, we've really made a great foundation to move forward. So whether it be implementing different things within finance, marketing, and organization strategy, we're at a point now where we can only go up. So if it's making more student appreciation days or just doing things a little bit better. So we've learned what works and what doesn't work, trying to do different things within the school financially, with the dean and administration, working with that as well. On a monthly basis, we try to attend as many faculty council meetings as we can to see both sides of the table, and really make a stronger presence in those meetings, I think, moving forward. and focusing on the 20% of your incomes that gets 80% of the outcomes. So the 80-20 principle, really focusing on what works and really excelling that, driving that, mentoring those people in those roles, and get the outcomes will come from that.
Yeah. What changes will you make next year compared to this year?
I feel like more needs to be done for the general student body. I really love the idea of student appreciation days. I just feel like it needs to happen more often. We are a club that's for the students. And I understand that they do a lot of great things in the community, but I feel like the students should come first. So I feel like improving places through Odette should be at the top of the list. You know, I don't see people taking pride in this school, and it's really upsetting because I feel like it has so much potential. And even things like improving dividends or putting in water fountains or ATMs, and I know I'm hammering that home, but just little things can have a big impact on people and really improve morale. And so I feel like that's really important to get students more involved, is to just make them happier. And when people are happier, they're going to respect OCS more, in my opinion.
Okay. So Scott, you went for rebranding this year. How do you think that helped with the reputation of OCS to people outside of the club? Was it enough?
I think even going back to Peter's campaign, it was really working for the students, or working with the students, or working for the students instead of with the students, right? So we're, as a student government, we're elected and we fill our positions based on the people who are willing to go above and beyond the average student to put in the work to make things happen. And I think that took a long time, and it was a majority of our focus for the most of the year. And we're at a point now where I think it's starting to spill up beyond the society. So within, we're a really tight-knit group of really hammering things out and getting things done, and it's spilling off to the outside. Through Odette Student Appreciation, by surprising people with food, whatever it may be, I think, in all honesty, maybe it's not enough, but success builds on success. And we're going to keep going with the same vision and the same values until it gets to the point where it is enough and beyond.
Okay, so how do you both plan to engage Odette students from outside of OCS? Amazing.
Sure, so you said.
All right.
I feel like there's a lot of events that could be done for the entire student body. There are a lot that are, the Odette student body. There are a lot of events that OCS has where it's exclusive to OCS members. And I know that's great for team building, morale, but it makes people who are on the outside feel like they can't be a part of that. And that's not really fair, because OCS should be more accessible to everyone. And so I feel like doing more events that are student inclusive, like again, more student appreciation days, that's a great idea. And I think that even doing fun events like around the school during the year, I know in previous years we used to do game nights where we'd have board games and people would come out and come to our games. And I thought that was a great idea because it got everyone in Odette involved. And people who maybe didn't have like other things to do, you know, and they felt alienated, and it gave them a place where they could come together and just engage with other Odette students. I feel like even doing things like a karaoke night in a room, you know, just like fun, lighthearted activities that are open to everyone in the student body, that's a big deal. And I think that should happen more.
So to answer the question of expanding outside of OCS, how we can get people more involved, one of the biggest things for me, and that's something I feel really passionate about, is the Odette story. Everyone has something unique. We're all here from different places, and we all want to go somewhere else. But what we have in common is our time on Odette. And we need to showcase that. That brings people together. If anyone saw Kervin's My Odette story earlier in the year, you learned so much about an individual. But that individual is just one person of a community. And Odette is so tight-knit already that it will only bring people more together and enhance the whole brand experience within Odette.
Okay. How do you plan to spend the $50,000 budget Commerce has? Any plans to make the budget public?
I think the budget needs to be completely public. I think that a lot of everyone knows here that a portion of your tuition actually goes towards the budget for OCS. And I feel like that entails the students to know how their money is being allocated throughout Odette. And so I feel like that should be made like public, just completely. I don't know if it's already on the OCS page. I don't think it is. But just even on the OCS website, like it should be there. It should be public information for everyone, because like it's our money. You know, and like even things that Commerce has done in the past that is focused only on commerce, I feel like the students should know that sometimes funds go towards only things that benefit OCS. And they should be made aware of that. And they should also be made aware of when things go directly to them. I feel like this encourages the aspect of transparency, which is lacking right now.
Yeah, I think transparency is a great point, and obviously to build off that. And a lot of the funding that we've had in the past and the experiences, we don't want to spend money just to be like, this is commerce, and we're just spending money to show you that we're spending money. So we don't want to just buy stuff, we're branding it as commerce and be like, hey, we're actually doing stuff. And we worked really hard this year to not only make decisions financially that benefit and directly add value and create opportunities. There's been numerous times you can ask Peter that we fought toe to nail. We're not spending our money on this because it has no impact on students outside of commerce. And that's something I feel very strongly about, is that we all do pay into that. And we have to make financially smart decisions of where we're spending our money. And we've worked a long way for the past 2-3 years to get to the budget to where it is now. We've been so strict on our spending, and there has been so much support from faculty and from administration when we need to buy items for administration within that Commerce Society as well. So if we're looking at the iMac or the computers within dividends, they've been very, very supportive from administration to fund those things that we need to get things done within the office.
So the role of OCS president involves a high workload with the administration and the faculty advisor, Professor Mitch Fields. Do you have any experience working with them?
Sure. I kind of have to limit what I say since it's sitting right here. No, I'm just kidding.
Want me to leave?
Throughout my 3 years on Commerce Society, I remember when Michelle and Andrew first approached us to take on Professor Fields as a faculty advisor. And at the time, I knew nothing about him. As a second-year student, we're taking on this prof, and I'm just supposed to vote for a prof I have no idea about. But my experience getting to know Mitch and taking his classes has been absolutely unreal. When we went through an impeachment last year, his HR background was so supportive and crucial in making the right decision and questioning us that were we doing the right thing. And he's always been extremely supportive, and I'll give him that he's very hard on us as well, because it's easy for us to be like, we want to do this, and then we go to Mitch and it's like, did you guys really think this through? We go back to the executive meeting and really hammer things out, tighten up when it needs to be fixed. As far as Dean Conley goes, I've gotten to know him as well through Enactus of Commerce, traveling, sitting in his office talking for hours, whatever it may be, on a working relationship and personal.
Well, I obviously was not VP this year, so I don't have that same experience. But I did have Mitch as a professor, and it was great. It was probably one of the best classes I've had. I'm not saying that just because you're here. I'm saying that honestly.
You got your grade already.
If elected in, I would love to work with Professor Fields because he's just smart and has an extensive HR background, of course, like Scott said. And in regards to Dean Conway, I really don't have that much. I saw many both actually. Sorry guys. Please forgive me.
Okay, Marisa, can you please define what a better ODET is?
I can. Like I said, a lot of students, when I asked them, for the most part, students who were on OCS, when I asked them what their interpretation was, they would say, I don't know what OCS is, or I think it's clicky. And I feel like a better ODET is one where it has a healthy relationship with its student government and the students. And I feel like just working on that relationship will make ODET better in itself, as well as the other ideas that I can put in place.
Okay, Scott, what is your plan to deal with the high turnover rate amongst commerce members?
Sure, yeah. So this past year, as far as turnover goes, we had 4 members quit out of the 70. So to give you kind of perspective of our turnover rate. And as far as moving forward goes, we've looked at the VP admin role as well as the VP internal external, and kind of sat back and said, how can we address this in more of an HR policy? We've never had a distinct HR role within commerce. And so what we're planning on doing is merging VP HR and admin to really address these issues from the source. So develop an orientation process, a way to track our members' satisfaction throughout the term, whatever it may be, and really define external and internal to different responsibilities. So turnover is going to happen, especially when we go through reshaping and restructuring of an organization with our vision and values. You can't please every single member, but if they're not there to buy into what we're doing, then something's got to change.
Can I address the question? Is that allowed? Yes.
I I think there were more than 4 people who left commerce. I was one of them because I felt like my opinions were being oppressed and I felt like I wasn't valued. And in addition to that, I was being censored for what I was saying on Facebook sites. And I really don't think that's fair. And I think that definitely contributes to the to the high turnover rate. If people are unhappy, they're going to leave. If people feel like their opinion doesn't matter, they're going to leave. And I feel like that's important to address as the new president. If I am elected, people need to be happier, and that's simply all it is.
Okay, so to go off of that, Marisa, why do you think that OCS was a cult or it has this image? Since you were part of it, why didn't you do something about it regardless of your role?
Because I felt like whenever I would try and state my opinion, it would get deleted. Like, the issue is with commerce is that there's no vertical flow of communication. If you're unhappy, you don't really get a say. And that needs to change. Like, I keep on saying that the change needs to happen. I'm just trying to get my thoughts together. It wasn't really me who said culty or cookie, it was definitely other people. I would agree in saying that it is a clique. I know that people in commerce currently tell me that it's a clique. And when I was on commerce and I would say, "Bye guys, have a nice day," and no one would say anything back, that was also a clique. And so I just think that it needs to be focused on and people need to be happier. There needs to be more of an upward flow of communication between the bottom of commerce, the executives, and the president.
Okay. So individually, for both of you, what has been your greatest accomplishment for OCS? So not what was your role, but what did you accomplish?
I'll start with this one. I think greatest accomplishment. One of the most enjoyable parts for me in my experience on commerce has definitely been first year orientation, year in and year out. And getting people so excited about doing that school business, right? Because it's from day one, you're fostering that we want to be here, and the sense of community that we have. And these are fresh minds that come in knowing nothing about the school. Some chose it because they just want to take business as a general degree, don't know what they want to do with their life. I've been in those people's shoes. And if you can inspire one person at that orientation and make that connection that lasts across 3 or 4 years, then that's making a difference. And you're increasing their OS story on day one.
And I agree with Scott in the sense that it's personal relationships. I was a house mentor to the first years, and I did it for 2 orientations, and I loved it. That was definitely one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done. Because when I came to Odette, I know that even though I came from Windsor, not a lot of my friends came to it. And so coming on orientation day, it was terrifying. And I wanted to make that experience better for other people. And so I think that the most valuable thing or most important thing that I did was try to make a lasting relationship on my mentees, the mentees who still come up to me and say hi today, even though I only had a short time with them.
Great, thank you. So Marisa, how do you plan on getting all of these fixes? You're given a limited budget, and fixing these items on top of the scholarship seems like it will cost the students more money.
That's a good question. I don't plan on giving out a $50,000 scholarship. I believe on giving out something like $500, $1,000, something that's a small amount of our budget, because even that small amount can change a student's life or change their semester. It's a huge impact on an individual person. And in regards to putting in things like water fountains, ATMs, I'm not going to lie, I don't know how that works yet, but if I'm elected as president, I'm going to figure it out, and that's one of the first things I'm going to try and fix. Because, like, things that start on the bottom, like small water fountains and things like that, that makes a huge impact. And I know that in addition to that, we do get sponsorships, and if need be, that can happen too.
So Scott, can you please elaborate on your 3 pillars?
Sure. I'll try to keep it short, I guess. Pillar 1 is the people. Recognizing and investing in the people. Because I feel like sometimes you lose that we're all human when making decisions, especially within an organization. When you're dealing with first and second year students coming in, fresh minds who have nothing or know nothing about what we do, you have to take a really mentorship role and really lay things out clearly for them. And I think sometimes we're quick to make a rash decision of they're not doing their job, let's just get rid of them. These are first year students that have a full course load and are still adjusting to the society. So it's investing in those people, growing them, and developing as 21st century leaders relying on not only what the school business is doing, but what we can do in that as a society as well. The second is the community, and it's those people coming together. So whether it be recognizing your Odette story individually, getting clubs to work in different ways, partnerships with different events, offering student support, sending them upstairs to the dean's suite, whatever needs to happen, and building that sense of pride within Odette, whether it be Odette Collection or other events that we are doing through OSA and whatnot. The third part of my platform is the third place. Now, to really lay this out more clearly, I guess, if you look at the contrast between Tim Hortons and Starbucks, when you walk into a Starbucks, you get that place where you can relax and sit down and take your mind off things. Completely different from the brand experience at Tim Hortons. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to turn Odette into a big Starbucks, but what I'm saying is it's the atmosphere and brand experience that you get when you walk in the building, if you want to be here or not. People who stay home from class because they don't want to come here, right? And most people say that Odette is our second home. I can almost full-heartedly say that Odette's my home. Some nights I go home for drive half hour to go sleep, wake up, and then come back to Odette. And I know not everyone has that experience, but it's making little changes that increase the experience, the Odette experience, and learn by doing that. And I got the chance when we were in Italy in a recent trip to see a co-working space, which is a very popular fad right now, on people working together in different environments. And there's little things that we can take from learning experiences like that and implement in the classroom, in study spaces, and in our day-to-day lives within Odette. That's the third place. If you take away one thing, it's increasing your Odette experience. And the dean talks about that all the time, experiential learning. I don't know if that's enough in our classes yet, but it's available through clubs and through opportunities like this. So it's really emphasizing that, making people aware.
Okay, so for Marisa, you continuously state that commerce has multiple issues that you can easily fix. What are these issues and how do you plan on fixing them? How did you plan on fixing these issues in such a short span? How did you plan on?
There's a lot of questions in there.
Do you want me to?
Let's start with the first one.
Okay. You continuously state that commerce has multiple issues that you can easily fix. What are these issues and how do you plan on fixing them?
Well, I feel like there's a lack of communication between OCS and the student body. And so to improve that, there can be a suggestions box. And for the people who think that students won't add anything to the suggestions box, I think that there should be an award for whichever student puts in the best idea for that one. Because even though, technically students may be intimidated by the Commerce Society, I feel like it provides an incentive and it makes them want to be interested in Commerce Society. Regarding other issues, the high turnover rate, again, more of an open flow of communication between all the hierarchies of commerce, making people more happy. Regarding things like water fountains, it's a monetary fix. Depending on what my budget is, how our team does during their sponsorships, then I'll work with that accordingly and do what I can.
And what's the second part of that? How do you plan on fixing these issues in a short span?
Well, I'm not going to do it all by myself. I mean, I'm going to have an executive team to work with. I don't want this title so I can just become the person in commerce who runs the show. I understand that this is a team and that we need to work together to do these things. If elected, I'm gonna have to talk to my team. We're gonna have to find a way to do this. But I think what's important to focus on is that I want things to be better and that I'm willing to do what it takes to make sure that happens.
Okay, so this question is for both of you. Look around the room. Do you see anyone from outside of our club?
I do.
How many though? So how will you fix this?
Do a different time.
Right?
Do a different time.
Are you just gonna fix? How are you gonna get other clubs to come out to these events?
I think other clubs should have more of a say in what happens in commerce. And I think that's a very good way to get them to come out to things like this, things that are specific to commerce. I feel like because there are so many people who are on Enactus who are also on commerce, that other clubs kind of get pushed aside. And I'm not bemoaning anything that Enactus does because I think Enactus is phenomenal with the work. But I feel like other clubs like Toastmasters, OLI, HRA, and OAC, any of those clubs, I feel like they just don't get enough say. And I feel like that's why they feel like they shouldn't even come out to this, because their opinion doesn't matter. And I feel like that needs to be completely rebranded, and that people need to be able to have more of a say in what happens in commerce.
Yeah, I'll answer that. So as far as past commerce events have gone, I can't really directly relate this to being a solely commerce event. It's more like a debt event. Commerce events has always struggled in getting people outside of the society and outside of clubs to come out to these events. And that was one thing that we really worked on this year to put as our focus. I'm not saying that we got extreme results from it, but working with the students, or working for the students instead of with the students. It's been a constant struggle. And when you look at the breakdown of students, there's what we call the murky middle. So there's 25% at the top who are involved constantly, go to anything regarding Odette, they'll be there. Because they want to be, they're involved, they like doing it, and they love Odette. There's the 50% of people who are just on the merge of the two, of the top performers, or the students, or the involved, I guess. And this 50% is our biggest target. And I think that by showcasing the people and their stories, we'll get them more involved within the community. Because these are the students who go to class and go home. And I think that those are the commuters who we need to recognize and create this atmosphere where they want to be here. Then there's the 25% at the bottom, right? The bottom feeders, who is the least likely to come out to anything. They're on academic probation. They're failing their classes, they're dropping classes, or they're transferring to a different faculty. So it's analyzing this breakdown of students and recognizing how do we target each of them. And I think if we take the 80-20 principle and see what's working for this 50% and really push on that, really showcase what works and really put that to work, that will get more and more people out. Because if we have our focus too straight against the whole 100%, we're never going to get everybody out to events like this. So it's finding what works, using that until we get everybody out, but really focusing on the murky middle.
Okay, so this is again to the both of you. Many students do not know what the Commerce Society does or who the elected officials are. This is a major issue. How will you engage with the student body so that they are both aware of who you are as well as what you do?
I feel like classroom talks are really effective. And I know it sounds really simple, but even for me campaigning, I know that people listen to you when you're taking your time away from their actual class. And which sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Like people, if they see someone new, then they're going to focus in on them. And I feel like that is a huge problem, that people don't know who the current president is. And that simply by getting your name out there more, by going to more events where like all students are going to be there, going to classroom talks, going to dividends, even just trying to form a one-on-one relationship with students, which hasn't been done, I think that's a very good way to get people to recognize.
So I think as far as building awareness of what we do, we have to take a different approach. And if you look at any organization or any company, you can often clearly define how they do what they do and what they do what they do, but you don't understand the why. And I think that's the most important part of commerce. Not what we do, not who does it, not how we do it, but why we do it. And why we do it and seeing those results. Because we believe in the students, in what Odette can be, and why we do is so much more important. Because if you don't look at the society, you don't know who is president or who's active on the club, but you know why they're doing what they're doing, to prevent or to promote the best experience for you, then it doesn't matter who's at the top or who's involved, who's putting in the work. But if they're seeing tangible results and understand why, that is the most important thing. And then we can go to the hows and the whats of the organization.
Okay, so Scott, I like your 3 pillars, but how do you plan on implementing them? So just give a brief explanation on each.
Sure. I think in the past, the biggest problem that we faced in a presidential role is execution. Right? We have all these great ideas, and what we're going to do, whether it be things that we've tried in the past that we haven't been able to make happen, is execution. And based on my past experience, I've had chats with Barb and with the dean on why things can't happen, why we can't do this. So I feel like we're at a point now where we can use that experience instead of getting the same roadblock over and over again to just build on top of that. Right? So I want to sit down with each of my VPs, get their inspired vision on why they do what they do and what they want to make happen, and use that moving forward. It's these three pillars. They're simple, but they can make such a big impact. To highlight the people, we can launch my Odette story video series that might take a while to get off the ground, but it's highlighting those. And we've tried this year, and we realized why it didn't work, and we've had learnings from that. When it's building the community, why clubs aren't doing things a certain way, what we can add to that, we learned that. And creating this third place, the little things are so important. And it is talking to students, seeing those little things. But there's simple fixes that can have a big impact, and that can be incorporated into everything that we do.
Okay, so again, for the both of you, what concerns have students voiced to you specifically concerning Odette? Like Odette or the Odette?
People tell me the bathrooms are weird. And I know that I can't take my mom and Palin and go do it myself, but I feel like the student voice can definitely do a lot. Like, I know Scott was saying that they do faculty meetings, and then there's a student representative from Commerce Society there. And I feel like even putting your 2 cents in on little things like that can have a huge impact. Again, people have been telling me that the water fountains don't work, and that's why it's part of my platform. Because so many people have told me, like, why doesn't that water fountain work? And it's true, why doesn't that water fountain work? Like, it seems like a very basic problem, but something that could be fixed relatively easily.
Can you repeat the question?
What concerns have students voiced to you specifically concerning Odette?
I think that the biggest thing that's been voiced is that there's a lack of the want to be here, right? When we go back to that murky middle, it's the people that come and go home, right? They just come for class because they have to. And it's really building on the why they're here and the opportunities that we can provide. So it's making them aware, right? Making them aware of the different initiatives that we offer, or different opportunities that we have individually to the people. And I think the third place is such a big aspect of the future of the university kind of culture and atmosphere. If you look at any other school, like Waterloo, for example, they have such a tight-knit community, and you have a different feel when you walk into the building than a community school like this. And it's increasing that feel of the third place that will make them want to be here, want to go to class, and want to get higher grades in their classes and get actively involved in clubs like this.
This question is for the both of you. Since U-Windsor is a majority of a commuter school, how can you get international as well as out-of-town students involved? Because about 90% of students on OCS are local kids.
So it was getting international students involved in OCS.
Yeah, so international students as well as out-of-town students involved in OCS.
Sure. I think the biggest thing is it definitely starts, like I said earlier, day one, orientation, making them aware of the opportunities that we have within Commerce Society as well as other clubs, right? And there are a lot of kids from out of town who we have in Commerce Society. We used to have an international rep, and then people weren't applying for it. And I think that's something great that we can bring back, as long as we can find those people who have the unique Odette stories and add value, constantly add value and see those opportunities and can relate to people. And it's not only getting those people on the society, keeping them on the society, but it's showcasing them and investing in them. Because they have a unique story, but there's so many people who have similar stories that can feed off of them. And like I said in my speech earlier, in high school, you become friends with people because you have to be. Right? You have a select few people in your high school, you live down the street from each other, you're automatically friends. In university, you become friends with people because you want to be, because you have similar interests. So whether it be steering you to a certain club that has the same interests as you, even coming from out of town or from internationally, you'll make those connections that will last years beyond your time at Odette.
I feel like when OCS rebrands itself to make it more open to the students, that's when more people who are from out of town and international students will come. Because the thing is that people who are from Windsor, they probably know someone who's on the society. And they think, great, like that's my aunt, I know someone. But for someone who doesn't know anyone, it's really intimidating. And that's probably why there aren't a lot of people from out of town who are on it. Because it's simply frankly terrifying to just see the like clickiness and like the lack of invitation that it has. And so I feel like by making it more inclusive to the students, it'll make people and inspire them to get involved in OCS as well as other ODEC clubs. And in addition to that, because I want to slow down, because I want to create an ODEC bursary or Commerce Society bursary, I feel like that'll also motivate people to join clubs because I want to give it to not only people who join OCS, but people who join any club in ODEC.
Describe the current relationship between OCS and UWSA. What would you change and why?
I feel like because the UWSA has been through so much, that Commerce has almost had a free rein. And looking through the Constitution and the bylaws of both OCS and the UWSA, there's a lot of things that don't match up. And that's not the way that it should be. I feel like OCS, as well as any other club on campus, should all run underneath the same rules to ensure like a standardization almost, so things work more efficiently, more effectively. OCS also gets funding from UWSA, so that's how that relationship goes. The question's about the relationship between.
Yeah, so describe the current relationship between OCS and UWSA and what would you change and why?
I feel like the UWSA needs to have more say. Obviously, there are personal things that I can't talk about, but I just feel like that impartial third party is very important.
Sure, so I'd love to expand on kind of like where I stand personally and currently, the views in the past of our executive team, based on the experiences that we've gone through. So there's been numerous times where we've been either threatened or have our funds frozen because of a lack of communication or some sort of piddly issue that transpired and we just had our hands cuffed. We rely heavily on the UWSA to do anything, whether it be an event, getting a permit, providing food on campus, trying to do a barbecue on orientation. There's so many, right now it feels like there's so much bureaucracy in the way of getting things done. And I feel like to really learn while you're doing things, just take action, make things happen, and learn along the way. And there's been times where it's been so limited to having those learning opportunities in making those things happen. As an executive team this year, we considered separating from the UWSA and trying to be our own entity, talking with the Law Society and how they do, or the undergraduate Law Society and how they run on their own, or what we can incorporate into doing things by ourselves. And I think it's really key to like lagging response times and communication between the two clubs, whether it be check recs or communications as far as events and stuff like that goes. But I think the biggest thing moving forward is that that's in the past, right? Why look backwards when you have so much to look forward to? And when I met Ronnie at the pre-law student society, it was kind of like, forget everything that happened. I'm going to do whatever I can to change that. And if we're stuck as an executive team in the mindset of, wow, shit really hit the fan, can we really rely on them to do anything? And when you don't trust your upper authority, that's when you start to question everything that you do and everything that they do. I think moving forward, we have to let that go, move forward together, and really build off of each other.
How would you improve transparency within Commerce and ODEC?
Building off a question that was asked earlier, I think that showing the budget to everyone is a great way to encourage transparency. I feel like also, and I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, is that students should be allowed into the ODEC Commerce Society office. And I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with me on this, but I feel like this makes people resent us because it's like, I have power over you. And I don't really think that's fair. Obviously, there has to be like some role there, or else it's just going to be taken over. But Like there definitely needs to be some more open communication like that. Like just like we're no better than you. Like you can see what's in this office. Like it's not a secret. So literal transparency there, but also in what the club does, and in how they allocate their funds, and in how they treat other clubs, I think is also important.
So how would you improve transparency within Commerce as a debt?
Sure, yeah. First, I'll touch on the office issue that's kind of like the elephant in the room, I guess. Like, every year that we bring in new execs or new people onto the society, it's always an overwhelming issue. And I think that where we're at now, we can really reflect on the learning points that we've addressed along the way. And that the office isn't a place necessarily for everyone in Odette to be in. Everyone in Odette is on the society, but there's people in roles to do work. And maybe in the past it's been exclusion because they're not doing work in the office. But it's really focusing and putting the focus and the pressure that's what the office should be used for. And maybe it's clearly more communicating that and addressing that to our members. But it's always been an issue. And we have taken away learnings from it. And I think it's finally to a point where we can move forward from it and really learn off the past. As far as other ways of being transparent, I think an annual report by semester-based that is user-friendly, right? Because yes, we have minutes and we have finances on the website, but you have to go digging to find it, and it's not really ease of use or friendly for people to find it right away. If you want to know how I spent your money, you should be able to look and clearly define how we spend it. If you look at UWSA's website, where we've looked time and time again to see what they're allocating business students' funds on, it's laid out and it's easy to read. And we can take that and use that with our finances as well. I think the biggest part of transparency is that it's user-friendly. Because we can have the material there, but if you can't decipher, or if you can't really figure it out, then what's the point? I think that's the biggest thing that we can learn from the past and use moving forward.
Okay, so for the both of you again, there are certain members in OCS that have a big role in their club, as well as a very important role in other clubs. This could create an issue that people take on more than they can chew. Do you agree that people should, let's say, be VPs or PMs in two clubs?
I'll answer this one. I feel like this is a very sensitive topic. It's almost like the elephant in the room, because everyone knows that almost every single VP on Commerce is also a member of an activist. And I don't think there's anything wrong with VPs also being members on other clubs, but I just think that there needs to be more equal representation, because or else things get too biased. And so I think that if you are on another club, that's great, you shouldn't be penalized for that. But I feel like to have every single member or every single exec of Commerce also be a member of an activist or a member of OAC or a member of OMA, like that's just not fair to the other clubs. And so I feel like if that's going to happen, there needs to be an equal representation.
Yeah, I think this is a very crucial point. We talked about definitely a lot this year in our executive meetings, as far as really balancing your effort. Most importantly, your effort between each club, because you can have a position in a title, but it's where you put your effort that really makes a difference. And I think that this can be addressed in several ways. I'll talk a little bit about my experience in an activist, because I know that's been a looming question as well. And if I were to become president of the Commerce Society, I'm prepared to fully step away from an activist. I'm not saying that I'm going to quit the organization. I feel like I've left my mark. I've had the opportunities, but I really want to focus solely on Commerce Society because of my want to fill that position. And how can I preach as president that my VPs have to focus their time on commerce if I'm fully and actively involved in an activist as well? I'm not going to stand up there and say, you need to focus on commerce and then go do things running around for other clubs, whatever it may be. And I think the biggest thing that we tried to incorporate this year, having those people on our teams, is really define and allow rapid growth between the positions. So if you're a general member and the VP either has other interests or a lot on their plate, then let's give you those responsibilities. Let's allow you to grow. Because although at the beginning of the term you sign up for 8 months, if you're not pulling your weight and there's a member that's willing to step in your shoes and do your job, then let's do that. We're not going to let you free ride for 8 months or for 3 of the 8 months because you got that position at the beginning of the year. Right? And I think a key example, he's not here tonight, but is Colin Boss. He rules amongst many organizations, but he has put so much work into Commerce Society this year, whether it be on the finance team, moving up to taking responsibilities when Andrew's busy with Enactus, or taking on the entire debt collection. It's people like that, allow them to grow, and allow them to learn by doing while they grow. Invest in them. Because at the end of the day, they're not only becoming a better person, but they're leaving their mark on Odette.
What experience do you bring to the role of OCS president?
Sure, so I'll kind of talk a little bit about my Commerce Society experience kind of from the get-go. I touched on it a little bit during my speech, but I started as a graphic designer, and just because I happened to make posters in high school. I never had necessarily a set direction I wanted to go into business school, and people automatically started associating me with marketing, just because I made posters. So in second year, I applied for Vice President of Marketing, and was really allowed to be creative in whatever direction I wanted to go. And I was a second year in a VP role. And that took a lot for Michelle and Andrew to put trust in me at that age and at that maturity level to really take a chance on the second year. And that year by far was one of the biggest learning experiences I've ever had. Sitting in an executive meeting and pitching your ideas not only on your portfolio but the entire organization, having an influence in how the school runs was something that I was not used to or didn't expect. Moving from VP marketing to EVP, complete shift in perspective. In my leadership style and marketing, it's lead by doing. So if we need a poster, I'm going to get you to make the poster, but I'm also going to help you make the poster. I'm going to make it myself if we're short on time. But in the EVP role, I can't do stuff for your team. I'm pushing you as an individual, right? And we're coaching the society as a whole. So make those individual connections and build the society. Within my second year, when I was VP marketing, I had a close connection with Andrew and really took me under his wing, showed me the ropes and how to do things in second year. This year, I worked tremendously close with Peter, seeing how we spent the budget, his day-to-days in the presidential role. And we learned so much about each other and about the society and how to best tailor what we do to the students. And I think there's a lot of meetings at Tim Hortons or behind the scenes. In the EVP role, you're not glorified in the spotlight of being like, wow, Scott did this. But again, that's not why I do what I do. Right? Somewhere along the line, someone gave me a shot, whether it be Andrew, Peter, Michelle, for giving me those positions. And the sole reason I do what I do is to give someone the same chance. Invest in those people.
Okay, for Marisa, you stated that you represent change. This has been a successful year for OCS, so are you going to build upon that success or change everything just because you believe that it's not working?
I don't want to change everything. I feel like people have done a lot of good things on OCS, but I don't think from the students' perspective it's been successful because the students still don't know what OCS is. I know that Kevin, who has raised a lot of money with his team for different charities, and I think that's amazing. I know they've done student appreciation days. That's amazing. I know they've done a lot of different things, but I just feel like the students are being underrepresented. And I feel like in order to be successful as a student government, the students have to be happy. And that's the kind of success that I'm looking for. And that's why I want change.
So, Scott, what have you done this past year to improve the ODET experience?
Sure. I think, first of all, when we look at the breakdown of the students, that was the initial step in realizing how much impact the ODET experience has on our students. And when we clearly laid them out as 25% involved, 50% don't care, 25% are potentially leaving, that was the biggest step to making any sort of impact on the ODET experience. It's initially recognizing that need and how can we address that. More importantly, how can we address the specified need of the 50% in the middle? And I think that whether it be our plans for ODET talks, our coffee talks initiatives, or first year foundations to solely address this 50% is the biggest thing that we've done in starting to address the Odette experience. And it's at a level now where we can really build and really make an impact. Success can only build on success. And we have those plans in place. So let's make it happen and take action.
Okay. So for the both of you, what is the largest challenge you will need to overcome as OCS president?
So I talked a little bit about it earlier, but in conversations with Pete and Andrew in prior years, I think the biggest thing has been execution. Right? We have these ideas, but how do we make it happen? We want to do this event, are we able to do it? We want to change dividends, are we able to do it? Meeting with the dean and Barb and having that realization of, wow, this can't happen because of this. And realizing how those needs can affect us moving forward. And there's so many times, so many learning experiences I can think of having those conversations with Barb or the dean or whoever it may be, that lays the foundation for such a great year ahead, an opportunity to really execute big plans and really make things happen. We've laid a great foundation as far as our budget goes, whether it be administration within the society as a whole. But the biggest thing I'd say is execution, and I think communication. Making sure that all your members feel heard. You can stand up there all day and say, we're hearing you, but if you don't show that, right, and show that relation amongst the organization, that's where it really becomes an issue. So whether it be execution or communication, I think those are the biggest struggles that we'll see in this role. And I think based on my past experience, I have what it takes to address that.
From my perspective, I feel that the biggest challenge is to motivate the students. And I feel like even though we're a student government, we really don't address the students as much as they need to be addressed. The students don't know what OCS is. That's a huge problem. The fact that people don't know who their student government is, even though they're the ones who elect the president of that club. I feel like ways to improve motivation would be to have the suggestions box, motivate them to understand what OCS is, motivate them to understand how it can be improved. In addition to that, I feel like another way to motivate them would be for the bursary, because the bursary works in a way that you are allowed to have it if you are a member of any Odette club. And so I feel like it would make the most sense to motivate the students that way, because that way they're going to want to be a part of this club. And we are a part of the students.
Okay, so the last question for the both of you. Fixing the lack of participation or communication with the student body will not be done quickly. Since it will take time, how do you convince the current students that they will benefit from trusting OCS and becoming more involved?
Can you say it again?
Yeah, that's a lot of things.
Okay. Fixing the lack of participation and communication within the student body will not be done quickly. Since it will take time, how do you convince the current students that they will benefit from trusting OCS and becoming more involved?
I think it all goes back to incentive. I feel like what motivates a lot of students is that they think, well, what's in it for me? How is this going to benefit me? And a way that they're going to be benefited is with a bursary, or with a monetary reward, or even I was thinking, and I know that Scott addressed this, about improving dividends. And I think that a way to get students involved in that would be to have a contest. Who can create the best design for dividends? Like, it all goes back to the students. There needs to be an incentive to get them motivated to be involved in commerce and any other club.
I think when we look at the participation, communication, and doing things quickly, goes back to the vision of the society and the people that make up the society. And I don't think it's necessarily a lack of motivation, because there's so many bursaries out there that people don't apply for. When Barb sends you those emails of free money, apply, it's because there's 3 or 4 people that apply. People don't know that there's opportunities out there. And it's making sure that they know that. And it's making sure that they know why you're doing that. When we go back to the why, it's not because we want them to recognize that Commerce Society is active in doing things. We're not going to plaster our name on it to show that Commerce is making a difference. But it's why, because we believe in your Odette story and your Odette experience, to enhance it as much as we can. So it's to get them to know, especially the 50% in the middle who are inactive. They want to be here, they want free money, but they need to know. And that's the most important thing, I think, when we look at the participation, communication, and doing things quickly. When I look at my personal experience on the Commerce Society, it hasn't happened fast. The growth from initial member to where I am today has taken time. And people believed in me, people invested in me, and there's people in the society right now who are there for a reason and are capable of making these things happen. And we have to continue with the continuity of this organization, of the values, and of the vision of where Odette Commerce Society can go.
Alright, so thank you both for your answers. I'm going to give both of you a minute to just have closing remarks. So,
Well, I said my speech first, so it's you.
Sure, so if you can take away one thing from my platform, from my campaign, from tonight, it's the Odette experience. That we're putting an emphasis on the experience of walking through those doors. Whether you're here in class, here for extracurricular activities, it's because you want to, not because you have to. And making a lasting change on the school, but more importantly, the people. And bringing those people together. Now, when you look at my track record on the society, across any organization I've been part of, I want you to take away why I do what I do. And again, Steve Jobs has been such an influence on my leadership style, on my coaching style, on my life in general. And the only way that you can do great work is to love what you do. And I cannot emphasize, and I hope I communicated enough tonight, why and how much I love the Odette School of Business and what we do at the Odette Commerce Society. So please, vote Scout.
The main reason that I'm running is because I want the students, the members of OCS, and the members of other clubs to all have a say and to all be respected and treated fairly. I want people to take pride in this school because I love this school. And I know Scott loves it too, but I just want to make the point that I also love it. And I'm not trying to change it because I hate it. Like, I'm changing it because I see where it can go, and I want to get it there. And so I want everyone to know that I really care. And that I care about even the people who are on the bottom of the club, who are in the middle of the club, people who are on the top of the club. I feel like every single opinion matters. And I really want to run this with everyone having a say. Thank you.
thank you all for coming. I'm just going to say remember to vote March 16, 17. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I have to go back to Tomato Town now. Tomato Town. Now? Well, not leaving tomorrow. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's really fun. Next time I see you, drive safe. See ya.